Jamie stood at the edge of the dusty road, the hot sun beating down on his back. A cool breeze carried the faint scent of the ocean from somewhere far beyond the horizon. But the air felt suffocating, heavy with disbelief. For the first time in over a decade, he had returned to the small village that had once been home. Yet, as he stared at the barren piece of land, Jamie felt like a stranger in a place that had promised so much comfort. Nothing. Not a single brick, not a single wall. Just an empty lot. Jamie's heart raced, pounding in his chest like a war drum. This couldn't be real. He squeezed their eyes shut, expecting to open them and see the beautiful two-story home he'd been dreaming of for years. But the only thing that filled their vision was dry, cracked earth and scattered weeds. Where is it? Jamie muttered to themselves, their voice barely more than a whisper, yet trembling with the effort of holding back the surge of emotions. For years, he had sent nearly every hard-earned penny home from his grueling job abroad. The dream of returning to a house that was his, the one his parents had promised to build, had kept him going through long hours and sleepless nights. The pictures sent from home had shown steady progress, a house that was growing from the ground up, becoming more real with each passing month. And now, it was all a lie. A voice broke the silence behind them. "Jamie? Is that really you?" Jamie spun around, his face already flushing with emotion. Standing before them was his older brother, Marco, looking nervous. His eyes darted between Jamie and the empty lot. Marco had been the one sending the updates, the pictures, and the promises. He was the one Jamie had trusted the most. Jamie took a step forward, his fists clenching. "Where's the house, Marco?" Marco opened his mouth, but no words came out. His gaze dropped to the ground as he rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding Jamie's eyes. Jamie felt the burn of anger rise in his throat, forcing its way out. "Answer me. Where is the house? The one I've been sending money for, every month, for years." Marco swallowed hard, his face twisting with discomfort. I can explain, Jamie, but you need to calm down first." "Calm down?" Jamie's voice trembled with barely contained rage. "You've been sending me pictures, updates. You told me it was almost done, Marco." He couldn't finish the sentence. The betrayal twisted in his gut like a knife. "We thought we'd figure something out before you came back." Marco shifted nervously, glancing around as if searching for an escape route. Things got complicated. The money. The money? Jamie cut him off, his voice icy. "Where did it go, Marco? Where did my money go? I worked my life away for this." Marco looked away, his expression tightening with guilt. "We needed it. Mom, Dad, me. There were bills, debts, things you wouldn't understand. And then, well. Then what?" Jamie demanded, his voice rising again, unable to believe what he were hearing. "Mom's medical bills. Dad's business, it wasn't doing well, so we had to make some decisions," Marco said, almost in a plea. "We thought we'd be able to repay you in time. We didn't know you'd come back so soon." Jamie shook his head in disbelief. You used my money for yourselves. And then you sent me fake pictures of someone else's house, pretending everything was fine? How could you?" "We didn't have a choice, Jamie." Marco's voice grew desperate. "We were drowning. You weren't here, you wouldn't understand. We needed help. You could have told me." Jamie snapped, his voice cracking with the pain that had been slowly building. "I would have understood, Marco. I would have helped in other ways. But instead, you lied to me. You let me believe in something that didn't exist." The weight of betrayal pressed down on Jamie's shoulders. For years, he had dreamed of coming home to a safe place, a sanctuary after years of sacrifice. But now, that dream had crumbled into dust, just like the empty lot he were standing on. Marco's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "We thought we could fix it, we really did. But things got out of hand." Jamie took a deep breath, trying to steady his emotions, but it felt like the ground beneath him was slipping away. His family, the people he had trusted and loved most in the world, had taken everything. "You're telling me this now?" Jamie said, his voice quiet but filled with bitterness. "After all this time, you're only telling me this now because I caught you." Marco stood there, speechless, knowing that there was nothing he could say to make this better. As the silence stretched, Jamie could feel the cold realization settling in. The years of sending money home, the hope of building something real, it was all gone. What he had worked for, what he had believed in, had been taken from them by the people he thought he could trust. Jamie turned away from Marco and took a long, shaky breath. His chest felt tight, but he knew he couldn't crumble now. Not here. Not in front of him. Not after everything. "I need time to think," Jamie said finally, his voice barely audible. "I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I need to get away from here." Marco didn't try to stop him as Jamie walked down the road, leaving the empty lot behind. The family Jamie had worked so hard to support had taken everything from them. Now, the question was, what would Jamie do next? Confront them head-on and demand justice? Or walk away and build a new future on his own? Jamie sat on the edge of the village's old stone well, staring blankly at the setting sun. The golden light filtered through the trees, casting long shadows over the small, quiet town. The village, once a place of comfort and nostalgia, now felt like a prison of broken promises and cruel deception. It had been days since Jamie returned and found nothing but an empty lot where his dream house should have stood. He had gone in search of answers, speaking to those in the village who would talk to him. His inquiries, however, had only deepened the ache in his chest. The truth had come in bits and pieces, passed along by sympathetic neighbors and a few relatives who still cared enough to be honest. As Jamie pieced together the fractured narrative of his family's deceit, a cold anger simmered beneath his grief. His parents and brother had indeed built a house. It wasn't the grand home Jamie had envisioned for himself, but it was a nice, modest house. They had even bought some land and constructed another home for his brother. The small business Jamie's father once ran had expanded into a nearby village, flourishing over the years. What infuriated Jamie most was that this prosperity, this comfortable life, was made possible with his money. The money meant for his future, for the life he had spent so many years toiling abroad to secure. Jamie had spent over a decade working in a foreign land, enduring long shifts and lonely nights with the singular purpose of returning to the village to live in the house he thought was being built with every dollar he sent home. Instead, it had been used to elevate the lives of his family while leaving him with nothing. The villagers had their suspicions, too. At first, his parents bragged about the money Jamie sent home. They boasted about how it had helped them grow the family business, all the while turning down requests for financial help from extended family members by claiming the money could only be used for Jamie's intended purpose. After that, his parents went silent, no longer discussing the money they were receiving. As the years passed and the land was purchased, homes were built, and the business expanded, no one knew for sure if the money had come from Jamie or the success of the family business. But Jamie now knew the truth. He clenched his fists tightly as he thought about how his parents and brother must have plotted this, slowly siphoning away his future to build their own. The betrayal was complete, no stone unturned, no room for forgiveness. It had been deliberate, meticulous, and shameless. The people in the village had shown Jamie where his parents now lived in their comfortable new house. His brother's house was just across the way, both homes nestled on a large piece of land. Jamie had walked by the property once, standing at a distance, unseen. The sight of it had torn him apart. He could have stormed up to the front door, demanded answers, and confronted his family about the lies, the stolen money, the betrayal. But when he stood there, looking at what should have been his future, he couldn't bring himself to go inside. It was as if the house stood as a symbol of everything he had lost. His parents had made no effort to reach out to him since his arrival. They knew he was back, word spread fast in the village. Yet, they remained silent, hiding behind their comfortable life, unwilling to face the consequences of their actions. And his brother, he had been nowhere to be seen since their last conversation by the empty lot. No apologies, no explanations. Nothing but silence and avoidance. The betrayal had isolated Jamie completely. The very people he had sacrificed for were the ones who had destroyed him. He felt as though the ground had been pulled from beneath him, and he was free falling into a void of nothingness. With each passing day, Jamie grew more certain of one thing: there was no future for him here. His family had taken everything, his money, his trust, his dreams. There was no home waiting for him, no family to welcome him back. The village that had once been his sanctuary was now a place of ghosts and shattered illusions. Jamie had always imagined returning to this village and building a life here, surrounded by family and the familiar comforts of home. But now, that dream was dead. The life he had envisioned was gone, replaced by an overwhelming sense of betrayal and emptiness. He had nothing left here. With a heavy heart, Jamie made the decision to leave. He would return abroad, to the life he had once sought to escape. There was no choice but to rebuild from scratch, to start over in a place where no one knew his story, where he could escape the shame and bitterness of what had happened. As he packed his bags in the small room he had rented upon his return, Jamie felt a mix of sadness and relief. He was sad for the family he had lost, the life he would never have. But he was also relieved to be leaving behind the weight of betrayal that had suffocated him since his arrival. Before leaving, Jamie visited the empty lot one last time. Standing in the place where his house was supposed to be, he let out a deep breath, as if exhaling the last remnants of hope he had held on to for so long. The lot was a graveyard for the dreams of his past, but Jamie vowed it would not define his future. He would rebuild, not here, but somewhere far away. Somewhere new. As Jamie boarded the bus that would take him to the airport, he didn't look back. There was no reason to. The family and the life he had once known were nothing more than distant memories now, memories that no longer had any place in the future he was determined to create. For Jamie, the road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: he would never again allow himself to be betrayed by those he trusted most. And as the bus pulled away, carrying him into the unknown, Jamie felt a strange sense of freedom in the act of leaving it all behind. The past was gone. It was time to start over. If you enjoyed The Empty Lot and want to see more gripping stories filled with twists, betrayal, and redemption, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. What would you do if you were in Jamie's shoes? Let us know in the comments below. Stay tuned for more thrilling content.